This is it, ladies and gentlemen. This is the final episode of Season 1 of Mushoku Tensei. And this video might be pretty long, and there's so much I gotta talk about. Not just the episode itself, but what's going on with news, a movie, the OVA, and even a new manga coming out. So much things that cross my mind that it's just too much. But I'm going to do my best to break it down. There's a lot happened in this episode. And you know how I'm always saying how sometimes these episodes feel like they just go by so fast? And I'm like, yo, already? But no. This is the first one out of this entire part of this season where I feel like that it actually felt a decent runtime. Like it felt like it was going, I guess you could feel it just going on, how it just lengthened, usually just flew by fast. It's so good. This is still good, really good. But it felt like it was more added on to it, I guess because there's more scenes added on. And because of that, it felt like it was long. And I appreciate that, especially for it to be the final episode of the season, and we don't know when season 2 is coming out. I think probably like, 2023 or something, in my opinion, because this is an anime where even they have an original release date on it, it usually gets delayed because they want to really do a very good job and releasing it, and they always deliver. Like Studio Bind and another firm created this studio in order to make Mushoku Tensei happen. So much passion and love was put into the series, even with the manga and the novels and stuff like that, man. So much lore. And the writer himself just does an amazing job, or Fusion, just amazing job. Now, God, I don't know where to begin. Of course, with Rudius first. Rudius, actually, no, not Rudius. The setting, the opening, the final opening, is how the people are coming back to hope, a glimmer of hope, of crack of dawn, how they're getting up and they're playing down the roots, doing what they can, creating homes, creating crops and harvests so they can continue on with their lives, hoping things can get back to normal. And you see each person is sweating. And they paid very close attention to detail to that. The man is sweating, his wife was sweating, and the sweat would drop to the ground. And then even the guy, the butler, who's helping everything out, was sweating. It was just happening. Even down to the very end of the episode where they saw a raindrop fall from the sky. Just like it did in the very beginning of the season when Rudius was reincarnated to that world. Then there's also the bubbles in Zeniths Dream. What is the bubbles? What is going on? I'll get to that later, but let's still focus more on Rudius and him and his past. I didn't know they were going to do this, but they did. They showed Rudius pretty much in his past of how it all started, how he got bullied. What happened is that he could have gone to a higher school, a well-off school, but he didn't try too hard in middle school. So, or was it elementary? I can't remember fully. But either way, he went to a kind of bad school in a way with some bullies there. And he decided to speak up. It's the school he did went for before, which was really good. You didn't have that kind of stuff. But here, you gotta, back up your talk. However, Rudy's gonna do that in his past life, and he got, you saw what happened to him. And even though he was around people who was encouraging him to fight on, to get back up. Things can get better, not to give up. Not even after his father's death did he recover. He was severely traumatized and couldn't get up no matter how hard he tried. You know? And then, yes, he went through a traumatic experience, and it was his own experience. Everyone has their own trials and tribulations that they have to go through. But what the butler said is that everyone out there is suffering. Yes, Rudy is sad. Eris left him and stuff, and the note was misleading. But there are people out there literally around him who probably lost everything, their entire family, loved ones, all that stuff, their property, their inheritance, their fortune, all that they have lost, that they have worked throughout the years. and it's gone, just like that. But they're rebuilding their life. So really sitting here, in my opinion, compared to what's happening to everybody else, it's pretty pathetic. But once again, everyone has their own pace of how they do handle their, their trauma. So compared to what everyone else went through, even Rudy's compared to him now in his past life, is nothing compared to what other people went through. Because Rudy's may have went on a very crazy adventure, but it was still an okay adventure up until the very end, until Oyster wasted his ass. So Rudius has a dream about Zenith. Because everyone else is there. Paul, Aisha, Norm, Lilia, they're all safe. But Zenith is still missing. And she is alive. And with that, we are wondering who the dream is. What's going on in the dream, First you see Zenith, how she's looking and how she was just in a daze for a while. And she was hearing, Paul and Rhea's sword fighting and stuff. And she just wasn't feeling so well. In the book, in her perspective, she was upset. She's a strong militant believer, and you're only allowed to have one lover. So seeing how she was betrayed by someone she saw as her best friend, and by the one she loved, and to have a kid by that, it was very heartbroken to her. She was very strong for her religion of Millis. And because of that, she was distraught, upset, sad that maybe she's got the wrong end of the deal, how everyone else is moving on and feeling happy, but here she is the one that had to sacrifice, even put back her own faith in order for this house to still stay stable until Brutus comes along and cheers her up. And it was a very interesting moment how she was talking to him. People says, whose perspective is this? Is this Rudy's memories or is this someone else's? Could it be both? It could be both. Probably the reason why is because remember, Zenith used to be part of an S rank party, one of the greatest parties out there during their time. She could have been able to handle herself with ease, but something must have happened for her not to be able to contact anybody. What's going on? You kept hearing the sounds of water and bubbles. What is going on? It feels like everything was like in a dream haze when this memory was happening, and somehow this memory was being connected with Rudius. Dude, the foreshadowing they did right here was astonishing. I wonder how many people realized the foreshadowing that was going on. Like, it was not foreshadowing of events to come or past. It was a foreshadowing of the effects of what was going on in that instance. How everything felt like a dream sequence, and you couldn't tell, like, was this Rudius' memory or was it someone else's memory? Who was it? Couldn't say it was Rudius' memory because it wasn't really through the perspective of Rudius. It was Zenith that we're looking at, but we don't know where Zenith is. So, what is going on? I know what's going on. You guys gotta figure it out for yourselves. It's crazy. Now, let's talk about Eris. Eris explains to herself as same thing that went with Selfie. How when Rudius was there for Selfie, and she relied on him too much. She was getting better at magic, but she would only listen to Selfie. She would only listen to Rudius. Same thing with Eris. Eris realized how amazing Rudius was and left everything to him. Even when he was, suffering, even in the demon content, he didn't like eating the meat there, so he'll make sure they would get food, but he barely ate until they got to somewhere decent, like somewhere near the port. And she realized that even when they're time together, which they didn't go into specific detail, when they were, doing the do, that Ruiz's hands were small. And plus, he was also having a hard time keeping up the pace with her. Because, Eris is full of stamina. She's an athlete, where Rudius really isn't. So, she felt like she was taking advantage of Rudius herself. And she felt guilty about that. Like, she wants to stand toe-to-toe with Rudius to get stronger so Rudius can rely on her as well. So her goal is to become strong enough to defeat the dragon god, Oyster. That's how strong she wants to be. Then she'll go and see Rudius again, and they can, have a family and stuff. So that's what happened there. Then you have the thing with Ruger. How Ruger is helping 3 men on the road who are being attacked by monsters. And they praise him, and he even tells them that he's a separate, even shows them his jewel, his third eye. And they're having a good time, saying how most of the things happening is they were told as bedtime stories about the separate race being monstrous and very demonic. But after seeing one in real life, it's not like that at all. So, things are starting to cheer up. And if you haven't noticed, this entire episode, besides one of the things that's happening this entire episode, was how everyone was praising Rudius. While Rudius is down in his lowest moment right now, notice how everyone else, all the change, all the effects he did, of how he's changed and impacts so many lives. They're praising him for, how amazing he is. But he himself probably thinks he's the lowest of the low. He's no good at all. And it's what happens a lot where people really underestimate themselves. They feel like they can't do anything. And this, you may not know it, but a lot of people you've interacted with, you've probably done some good for them. And they probably will never forget it and will appreciate it very, very much. And because of that, Riz will walk on this earth not knowing the good he's done, but everyone else will always remember it. So that was another good piece of the episode that I enjoyed. And of course, you have the scene of Paul, and they're seeing the remnant part of the family that he gotten back. Aisha, Lilia, and Norman, all of them. They're at the Millis content still, by the way. So there's that. Now, when it comes to Roxy's side, it was the drink, the drinking contest that they're going through, where Roxy was sitting there getting drunk as well. I think they did a better job of the scene in the manga than they did in the novels and even the anime, where Roxy was just having a good time as well, partying with them, and they're all drinking and dancing. And she even did a silly little transformation pose with Kishirika as well. And the reason why she found out what happened with Zenith is thanks to Kishirika saying that they're in the labyrinth, that Zenith is somewhere around the labyrinth content and stuff. And oh boy, you won't find that out until like a good while. But yeah, it's funny how many people underestimate Kishirika because she caused a lot of impact in history, despite how goofy she is. She is something you should not trifle with, by the way. It's amazing how all the demons treat her like this, but I guess they don't believe that she's the actual demon empress, but trust me, people, she's the real deal. And if you actually read the lore on her, she's done some very epic and cruel things to the earth as well, causing probably like 2 or 3 wars. Something like that. I'm not sure I covered everything. I think I covered everything. And then they showed, foreshadowing the next character to be in the next season. And that is, it shows Noba, still wanting to see his master, the master of the craft. Then you see other characters you saw during the time of Eris' grandfather Soros' execution. They're there, and they're wanting to recruit Rudius. This elf with white hair is saying that to Saber is their mentor. Is that Selphie? We'll have to wait and find out. And Rudius walks off, taking his first step once again, trying to push past himself to find Zenith. And this is where we come back from the dream sequence where he's thinking of a memory of his mom. And it's all very interesting. So now he's out to find Zenith. And so ends season 1. Now, I've gotten out of all talking of the episode, which was very well made, as usual. The scenery as well, my god, the scenery was also beautiful too. It's very nice. What's next? I already told you my prediction of what time it might release again for season 2. And of course, the OVA will be about Eris and her goblin slaying adventure, which will show 3 important characters. Now, it's already popular as it is, so if it might get a movie, it will get a movie. If it does get a movie, here's my theory about the movie. And I'll probably make a separate video about this again, just to be separate, but I'll say it again here. The movie might be about 2 things. determine how season 2 is. How season 1 ended, where the people in that room talking, trying to recruit Rudius is going. Season 2 might skip volume 7. Even the manga skipped volume 7. A lot of people say that's crucial to Rudius' character development, which I do believe it is. But to be honest with you, I didn't really care much for volume 7 because the characters in there don't really have much of an impact on the story because they weren't even in there for the web novels. So therefore, I didn't really care much for volume 7 as some people do. I'm originally a web novel reader of Mushoku Tensei, so I never really cared much for volume 7. Even when I did read it, it was good. But to me, it's just like it was just filler. It's good for its development, but it was still filler, in my opinion. You do see the characters again sometime later on in the other volumes, just here and there, very tiny, not much of a real effect, but they're just there. But it could be that Volume 7 could be a movie, like how they did the Mugen Train arc. Hopefully they don't try to make it into an anime series like they did the Mugen Train arc. That, or it'll be about the adventure of Selfie. What happens to Selfie? That's the two things I can get on when it comes to the movie. Volume 7 or Selfie. I would like for them to do an origin story of how the wars were going on during the time, but that's not going to happen. That would be cool, but it's not going to happen. So, yes. So, a lot of people are discussing that season 2 might start off at volume 8 and skip 7. 7 might be part of a movie that gets popular enough, or an OVA series. But I'm really thinking this volume 7 is going to be a movie. That is going to be about Selfie. So far, I have never been wrong when it comes to predictions of Mushoku Tensei. I've never been wrong so far. I've been on point since the day, even when I was doing my very first must read of Mushoku Tensei. I've always predicted when it's gonna come out. I predicted the studios and all that. I've always predicted. I was always right. No source material here. I just did things how a gut feeling about it. So yes, these are my predictions. You heard it here. So if it happens again, I will make my video again, call myself a Mushoku Tensei prophet. Again, as usual. So, yeah, man, it's over. So what can you do? Pick up the manga. Read the novels. That's the best you can do. Or read their other work about Orc, who is out of the times of war and is looking for a proper wife, which is Fujin's work right now he's currently working on. And I do believe there was a time when I did hear him say that after he's done this novel series he's working on, that he will go and work on the sequel to Mushoku Tensei. But when that's going to happen, who knows? But hey, I am willing to wait for it, man. Who knows? He probably have to drop some drafts out there somewhere, but he's just not doing it on full web novel yet. We'll have to wait and see. So anyways, this is the end of the story for now, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you guys enjoyed this nice ride of me with Mushoku Tensei as much as I did, and hopefully you'll be there again when it comes back. So if any more news and chapters and stuff like that come out, you can count on I'll be there to talk about it. So like, comment, subscribe, and of course hit that bell icon for more Madcrown. This has been Madcrown on Meta Day, signing out.